Welcome to Read and Learn English. Most people believe that if they just work harder, they will succeed. They wake up early, stay up late, and push through tired eyes and heavy hearts. Yet still, they fail. They try and try again, but life seems to move in circles. It feels unfair, like the world rewards the lucky and forgets the hard-working. But is it really luck? Or is there something deeper we can't see? We live in a world that worships effort. We are told to never give up, work harder, and hustle more. But what if hard work, without direction, becomes a trap? What if trying harder only makes you more tired, not more successful? Imagine running fast in the wrong direction. The faster you go, the further you move away from your goal. That's what happens to millions of people who work endlessly but never arrive. You may have felt it too, that quiet pain inside. You give your best, but the results don't match your effort. You ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? You compare your journey with others who seem to reach success so easily. You feel small, unseen, and exhausted. But here's the truth. Failure is not always because you didn't try hard enough. Sometimes it's because you didn't see clearly enough. Success is not a punishment for the lazy, nor a gift for the lucky. It is a reflection of understanding, knowing where to place your energy and when to stop forcing what isn't working. Real growth begins not with more effort, but with more awareness. In this story, we will go beyond effort. We will explore the hidden reasons why so many fail despite their hard work. You will see that success is not about strength alone, but about wisdom, not about doing more, but about doing right. So, if you have ever felt stuck despite giving your all, stay with me. Because what you're about to learn may change the way you see effort forever. If effort isn't the answer, then what is missing from the picture? The trap of effort. The alarm rings before sunrise. A tired hand reaches out from under the blanket, pressing the button almost by instinct. Another day begins, another chance, another race. The man sits on the edge of his bed, eyes half open, heart already heavy. He whispers to himself, "Today, I'll do better." But deep inside, he knows that he said the same thing yesterday, and the day before that. He rushes through breakfast, scrolled through messages, answers emails, and hurries out the door. The city is still waking, but his mind is already racing. His day becomes a blur. Meetings, messages, mistakes, promises. By the time the sun goes down, he has done so much, yet somehow nothing feels different. He's moving, but not forward. He's working, but not growing. He's running, but not arriving. That is the trap of effort. The belief that movement equals progress. The illusion that being busy means being successful. Many people live this way, their lives full of noise, their days full of motion, yet their hearts quietly empty. They believe that if they just work harder, one day everything will change. But it doesn't. Because hard work without clear direction is like rowing a boat with great energy, but in the wrong direction. Every stroke takes you further from your destination. Think about how easy it is to confuse activity with achievement. You check your phone, answer every call, reply to every message. You feel productive, but you are not creating anything real. You go to work early, stay late, and believe that more hours will lead to more success. But time alone does not create results. Understanding does. The trap grows deeper when pride joins the picture. We start to value effort itself more than outcomes. We say, At least I'm trying, even when our trying is blind. We wear exhaustion like a medal of honor. But tiredness is not a symbol of success. Sometimes it's a warning that we are fighting the wrong battle. Success is not about how much energy you spend, but about how wisely you use it. The truth is, there is no glory in effort that leads nowhere. You could work 10 times harder than others, but if your direction is wrong, your results will still be the same: disappointment. Real growth begins when we pause and ask, am I doing the right thing, or just doing many things? There's a deep difference between working hard and working right. Working hard makes you sweat. Working right makes you progress. Imagine a farmer planting seeds in dry sand, hoping that one day rain will come. He works all day, digging, watering, sweating, but no matter how hard he works, nothing grows. Then, one day, another farmer arrives. He walks quietly, studies the ground, and says, "The soil is wrong." That one sentence changes everything. The first farmer didn't fail because he didn't work enough. He failed because he didn't stop to think. Many of us live like that first farmer, repeating effort, repeating pain, repeating mistakes. We think consistency means doing the same thing every day. But real consistency means learning, adjusting, improving. Effort alone is not progress. Awareness turns effort into evolution. Look at your own life. Are you moving fast but feeling stuck? Are you always busy but rarely proud of what you've done? If yes, then you might be caught in the trap of effort, the endless cycle of doing without growing. But there's good news. The moment you recognize the trap, you've already started to escape it. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. Once you see that not all effort is equal, you begin to choose wisely. You start to question not just how much you work, but why you work. So, as you continue this journey, remember this simple truth. Success doesn't come to those who move the fastest. It comes to those who move with purpose. To understand why this happens, we must look deeper, not at what people do, but how they think. The invisible barrier. He sits in his small apartment late at night, laptop open, eyes tired. The day has ended, but his thoughts haven't. Numbers, plans, and worries move in circles inside his head. He tells himself that tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow, he will finally focus. But deep down, he knows that tomorrow will look exactly like today. He's trying hard, working long hours, yet something keeps holding him back. It's not the world outside, it's the storm inside. This is what most people never see, the invisible barrier. It's not made of stone or steel. It's made of fear, doubt, and confusion. You can't touch it, but you can feel it every time you hesitate, every time you question yourself, every time you lose motivation for no reason. It's that quiet voice in your mind that whispers, "You're not good enough." Fear is the first wall of this invisible prison. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of wasting time. It tells you to stay safe, to do what others expect, to not take risks. It disguises itself as logic. I'll start when I'm ready. Maybe later. What if I fail? But the truth is, fear doesn't protect you. It limits you. It convinces you that staying still is safer than moving forward, even when standing still is the very thing keeping you trapped. Then comes self-doubt, the quiet poison that seeps into every thought. It tells you that your dreams are too big, that you're too late, too old, too young, too ordinary. It makes you question every decision, every step, every small victory. You work hard, but deep inside, you don't truly believe that your work matters. So you hesitate, you pause, you slow down, you start again, but with less energy each time, until one day you wonder where your passion went. And when fear and doubt stay too long, they bring exhaustion. Not just physical exhaustion, but emotional fatigue, the kind that drains your soul. You wake up tired even after sleeping. You lose excitement for what once inspired you. You start to feel that maybe you're not meant for more, but that's not true. You're just tired of fighting your own mind. The invisible barrier is not a lack of talent or opportunity. It's the weight of unhealed emotions, the noise of overthinking, the pain of comparing your life to others. You might think your problem is outside, your job, your environment, your luck, but often the true enemy is internal confusion. You can't win the outer game if you keep losing the inner one. Think about it. Two people can do the same work, but one grows while the other stays stuck. Why? Because one works from belief and the other works from fear. The same effort, the same hours, but completely different results. That's the power of mindset. Your thoughts are not small. They shape your entire destiny. You can have the best plan, the best tools, even the best opportunity. But if your inner voice keeps saying, "It won't work," then it won't. The mind is like a garden. What you plant will grow. If you plant fear, you harvest hesitation. If you plant belief, you harvest progress. But here's the good news. Once you see the invisible barrier, you can begin to break it. Awareness is the light that weakens every wall. The moment you notice your fear, you are no longer completely controlled by it. The moment you question your doubt, you begin to see its lies. And the moment you understand that exhaustion is not weakness, but a signal, you can start resting with purpose instead of giving up. You don't need to fight your mind, you need to understand it. Because the mind is not your enemy. It only becomes one when left in darkness. When you bring awareness, you bring clarity. When you bring clarity, the invisible barrier starts to crack. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself one honest question. What is truly holding me back? The world outside or the world within? You may find that the limits you see are only reflections of the fears you believe. Once you see the invisible barrier, you can begin to break it. The illusion of control. He sat at his desk, surrounded by papers, emails, and unanswered messages. Every sound felt like pressure. The clock ticking, the phone buzzing, the hum of the computer screen. He was trying to hold everything together. His job, his goals, his relationships, his image. He believed that if he could just control every detail, success would finally come. But the harder he tried, the more things slipped through his fingers. The more he tightened his grip, the more life seemed to escape. We are all taught to take control, to manage, to plan, to predict. We are told that success belongs to those who stay in charge, who leave nothing to chance. But somewhere along the way, control turns into fear. The need to control becomes an addiction, an invisible chain around our necks. We want the world to move according to our rhythm, but the world has its own music. Imagine a sailor in the middle of the ocean. The wind changes direction, the waves rise high, and he panics. He shouts at the sea, trying to control the wind, to make it blow his way. But no matter how loud he screams, the ocean doesn't listen. The more he fights the wind, the more exhausted he becomes. Then, one day, he stops shouting. He studies the current, feels the wind, adjusts his sails, and suddenly the same wind that once terrified him begins to carry him forward. He didn't control the wind. He learned to work with it. That's how life works too. We can't control the weather of our circumstances, the people, the timing, the outcomes. But we can learn to sail. We can learn to adjust, adapt, and flow. Control gives the illusion of safety, but real strength comes from flexibility. The tree that refuses to bend in the storm will break. The one that bends survives. When we try to control everything, we destroy our peace. We start micromanaging people, forcing plans, demanding results before they are ready. We check our progress every hour, compare ourselves every day, and overthink every mistake. Soon, life becomes a constant test, not of our ability, but of our patience. And when things don't go as planned, frustration turns into anger, and anger into despair. You've probably felt it before, that sense of panic when plans fall apart. Maybe a project failed, or someone disappointed you, or time moved slower than you hoped. You tell yourself, I did everything right. Why didn't it work? But life isn't a machine. You can't program it with effort and expect perfect results. The universe doesn't obey control. It responds to alignment. Control is rooted in fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of loss, fear of being wrong. But life is full of uncertainty, and the more we resist it, the more it hurts. True peace comes not from controlling life, but from trusting the process of it. The greatest growth often happens in moments we didn't plan, in places we didn't expect, through challenges we didn't choose. Think about water. You can't grab it with your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. But if you open your palm, water rests easily inside. Control is the same. The tighter you try to hold it, the more you lose it. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding the difference between what you can change and what you cannot. When you stop forcing outcomes, something magical happens. Your energy returns. Your mind becomes lighter. You start noticing opportunities that control once blinded you from. Creativity flows again. You begin to see that not everything needs to happen now, and not everything needs to happen your way. Even the most successful people learned this lesson. The great leaders, artists, and thinkers didn't control life. They cooperated with it. They trusted timing. They learned from failure, and they accepted that uncertainty is part of the path. They didn't fight the wind. They learned to sail with it. So maybe the next time life doesn't go as planned, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Maybe the delay isn't a punishment, but a preparation. Maybe the rejection isn't an ending, but redirection. Maybe what you call chaos is simply life rearranging things for your growth. The illusion of control makes us believe that surrender is weakness. But in truth, surrender is strength. It's choosing peace over panic, flow over force, wisdom over worry. It's saying, I will do my best, and let life do the rest. When you finally let go of control, you don't lose power, you gain freedom. Freedom from anxiety, freedom from fear, freedom from the constant need to be perfect. You begin to live with trust, not tension. And that trust becomes the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. So, take a breath. Relax your grip on life. The ocean doesn't need your commands, it just needs your cooperation. So, if control is not the answer, What should we focus on instead? The power of direction. He woke up every morning before sunrise, rushing through breakfast and diving straight into work. His hands moved fast, his mind even faster, but his heart was tired. Every day felt the same: meetings, messages, tasks, and deadlines. He was busy but not fulfilled, productive but not progressing. It was like running on a treadmill, moving a lot but going nowhere. One evening, as he sat staring at his screen, he felt an emptiness he couldn't explain. He realized he didn't know why he was doing any of it. He was chasing results without direction, a traveler with no map, a worker with no vision. There's a difference between motion and progress. A person can move all day without moving forward. Many people work hard, but few work with purpose. They pour their energy into tasks that look important but lead nowhere meaningful. They mistake activity for achievement and effort for effectiveness. But without direction, even the strongest wind cannot take you where you want to go. Imagine two people at sea. The first sailor rows with all his strength, but he has no compass, no destination. He changes direction every time the waves shift. The second sailor studies the stars, sets a clear course, and rows steadily toward a distant shore. Both are working, but only one is going somewhere. This is the power of direction, the clarity of knowing where and why you're going. Effort without direction is wasted energy. But when you have a clear vision, even small actions move you closer to something that matters. In life, most people are like the first sailor. They follow what everyone else is doing: trends, expectations, distractions. They chase money, status, or approval without ever asking, "Is this what I truly want?" The result is confusion, frustration, and burnout. They are working hard, but their ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. Now, imagine the contrast: a purpose-driven creator. They don't just work, they build. They wake up knowing what their time means. They say no to what doesn't align with their vision. They are not controlled by noise, but guided by meaning. When setbacks come, they don't collapse, because their why is stronger than the struggle. Having direction changes everything. It doesn't remove hard work. It gives hard work a reason. It turns ordinary days into steps towards something extraordinary. When you know where you're going, even the smallest progress feels significant. You stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. Psychologically, clarity gives the mind focus. It reduces anxiety and indecision. When your goals are clear, your brain filters distractions naturally, a process scientists call the reticular activating system. It helps you notice opportunities connected to your vision and ignore the rest. In other words, clarity trains your mind to see what truly matters. Let's take an example. Imagine two workers in the same company. The first worker is always busy, answering emails, attending meetings, saying yes to everything. He believes that doing more means achieving more, but at the end of the week, he feels drained, unsure of what he accomplished. The second worker, however, begins each day with intention. She asks, "What matters most today?" She focuses on tasks that align with her long-term goals. She doesn't do everything. She does the right things. And though she works fewer hours, her progress is deeper, her results clearer, and her mind calmer. That's the secret. Direction doesn't require more effort. It requires better focus. When you live with direction, priorities become clear. You stop chasing everything and start choosing what aligns with your purpose. You realize that saying yes to everything is just another way of saying no to your own dreams. Life becomes simpler, not because it's easier, but because it's intentional. The purpose-driven creator doesn't wait for motivation. They are guided by meaning, not mood. They know that even on tough days, they are still moving towards something that matters. Their work becomes an expression of their values, not just a way to survive. Direction gives you power because it gives you context. Without it, every failure feels final and every delay feels painful. But when you know your why, failure becomes feedback and delay becomes preparation. You start to see that every step, even the slow ones, has a purpose. If you've ever felt lost, stuck, or overwhelmed, it's not because you're lazy. It's because you've lost direction. You've been moving without a compass. The good news is that clarity can be rebuilt. It starts with simple questions. What truly matters to me? What kind of person do I want to become? What am I willing to work for, even when it's hard? Your answers don't have to be perfect. They just have to be honest. Because once you know your direction, life begins to organize itself around it. You start attracting people, ideas, and opportunities that match your purpose. The fog of confusion starts to lift, replaced by a calm, quiet sense of meaning. Clarity turns your energy into progress. It's not about doing more, but doing what matters most. It's about transforming scattered effort into focused creation. When you find your direction, you no longer need to chase success. You become the kind of person success naturally follows. But clarity alone is not enough. We also need consistency. The secret of consistency. He wasn't the smartest person in the room. He didn't have the best background, the most connections, or the greatest opportunities. But every morning, while the world still slept, he quietly showed up, day after day, week after week. His progress was invisible at first, so small that even he doubted if it was worth it. But months later, what was once invisible became undeniable. He had built something great, not through talent, but through consistency. That's the real secret most people ignore. Success doesn't come from explosive energy. It doesn't come from sudden bursts of motivation or one lucky break. It comes from small, steady actions that compound over time. The person who wins is not the one who works the hardest for a single day. It's the one who keeps going long after others stop. In a world addicted to instant results, patience feels old-fashioned. Everyone wants to see progress now, to learn fast, grow fast, and win fast. But the truth is, nothing meaningful happens overnight. A tree doesn't grow the day it's planted. The seed must stay in the dark for a while, watered, nurtured, and protected, before it breaks through the soil. Consistency is that silent period when no one sees your effort but you keep going anyway. The difference between success and failure often isn't talent or luck, it's endurance. Most people quit not because they can't, but because they don't see quick results. They mistake silence for failure, not realizing that growth often happens underground, hidden from view. Think of two runners at the start of a long marathon. The first one begins with energy, sprinting ahead with passion and excitement. The crowd cheers. But after a few miles, exhaustion hits. The excitement fades, replaced by pain and doubt. The second runner starts slowly, at a steady pace. The crowd barely notices. But as time passes, their rhythm stays strong. Mile after mile, step after step, they move forward. When the finish line appears, it's the steady one who crosses it. Not because they were faster, but because they never stopped. Consistency is quiet. It doesn't seek attention. It doesn't post every step online or shout about progress. It simply keeps going when others don't. It's the person who reads 10 pages every night instead of finishing a whole book once a year. The person who saves a little every month instead of waiting for a big opportunity. The person who practices a skill daily instead of waiting for inspiration. Over time, these small actions build something massive, something powerful. But why is consistency so hard? Because our emotions change and our motivation fades. We start strong, but when results don't appear, we doubt ourselves. We want to see proof that our effort matters, and when we don't, we stop. That's the trap. True consistency doesn't depend on how you feel. It's about commitment, doing what you said you would, even when you don't feel like it. There was once a craftsman who carved beautiful statues from stone. Each morning, he worked on the same piece for hours, polishing tiny details that no one would notice. A young apprentice asked him, "Why do you spend so much time on parts people will never see?" The craftsman smiled and said, "Because I will see them." That's the spirit of consistency, doing your best even when no one is watching, because you know the value of the process. Consistency is built through discipline, not motivation. Motivation is a spark. It starts the fire, but it doesn't keep it burning. Discipline is the fuel that keeps it alive. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You just need to keep showing up. The greatest athletes, writers, and creators are not always excited. They are committed. They understand that growth is a long game. When you practice something consistently, it becomes easier. Your brain creates patterns called neural pathways, like trails in a forest. The more you walk the same trail, the clearer and faster it becomes. That's why habits are so powerful. At first, they require effort, but with repetition, they become automatic. Consistency turns effort into ease. The most successful people don't look for big wins. They look for daily progress. 1% improvement each day might seem small, but in 1 year, it compounds into something extraordinary. That's the mathematics of growth. Small steps repeated consistently create massive transformation over time. But there's another side to it: emotional resilience. Because consistency isn't only about doing, it's about enduring. You'll face days of doubt, boredom, and disappointment. You'll wonder if it's worth it. You'll want to quit. And those are the days that truly matter. The days when no one is cheering, when the results are invisible, when it feels pointless. Because if you keep going then, you're not just building results, you're building character. Consistency teaches patience, humility, and strength. It makes you realize that success is not about speed, it's about direction and persistence. Every small act, every repeated effort is a brick in the foundation of your future. Let's take an example. Imagine two friends learning guitar. The first one practices for 3 hours on weekends when he feels motivated. The second one practices for just 20 minutes every day. After 3 months, who do you think improves more? The one who practices daily, even for a short time, Because consistency beats intensity, always. Consistency is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It's what turns dreams into reality. Every masterpiece, every song, book, invention, or success was built one small step at a time by someone who refused to give up. So, ask yourself, what could your life look like 1 year from now if you simply refused to quit? If you decided to be consistent, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Because the truth is, success doesn't require brilliance. It requires faith. Faith that what you're doing today will matter tomorrow. Faith that slow progress is still progress. Faith that every small action counts. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. You will stumble, miss days, and face setbacks. But what matters is returning. Every time you return, you prove to yourself that you are serious about your growth. The journey of consistency is not exciting, but it is transformative. It builds strength quietly, layer by layer. And one day, without realizing it, you'll look back and see how far you've come, not because of luck, but because of loyalty to your own path. Consistency gives strength, but there's another force that can destroy it: emotional chaos. The enemy within. He woke up every morning with a plan, to stay focused, to be consistent, to keep growing. But before he could even start, a quiet voice whispered inside his mind, "You're not good enough." It was a voice he knew well. Sometimes it was loud, sometimes soft, but it was always there, a shadow that followed him everywhere he went. He didn't realize it at first, but that voice was his real enemy. Not his lack of time, not the competition, not the world. It was himself. We all have that voice. It's the one that questions your worth, that tells you it's too late, that someone else is doing better. You can wake up early, plan your day perfectly, work hard every hour, but if your own mind is against you, it becomes a battle you can't win. The truth is, most people lose that battle long before the world ever defeats them. Fear, insecurity, comparison. These are the quiet destroyers of progress. They don't come suddenly, they grow slowly, like roots under the ground. Fear tells you not to try. Insecurity tells you you're not capable. Comparison tells you you're already behind. And together, they create an invisible cage, one made not of walls, but of thoughts. There was once a young artist who dreamed of creating something beautiful. Every day she sketched ideas, but she never finished them. She would draw one line, then stop and erase it. She would look at others' work and say, "They're better than me." Her notebook was full of beginnings, but no endings. She wasn't lazy. She was afraid. Afraid of being judged. Afraid of failing. Afraid that her art would never be enough. And so, her greatest enemy was not the blank page. It was her own mind. Fear is strange. It wears many faces: doubt, perfectionism, procrastination. It makes you believe that you're being careful, when in reality, you're just staying safe. The mind tells stories to protect itself. I'll do it later when I'm ready. I just need more time. Maybe next year. But beneath those excuses lies a deeper truth: fear of failure, and sometimes fear of success. Have you ever noticed how some people stop trying right when things start getting better? It's because progress feels uncomfortable. Success means change, and change means uncertainty. The mind loves control, and anything new threatens that control. So instead of moving forward, it creates emotional chaos, overthinking, anxiety, and self-sabotage. You see, the enemy within doesn't always attack directly. Sometimes it wears a mask of logic. It tells you, be realistic. It whispers, it's not the right time. It convinces you to slow down, to doubt your direction, to take one step back for every 2 steps forward. And because it sounds reasonable, you listen. But deep down, you know it's not logic speaking. It's fear dressed as wisdom. Comparison is another form of poison. You look at someone else's life, their achievements, their success, and you start to measure your worth by their timeline. You forget that their story is different from yours. You don't see their failures, their late nights, their doubts, only the highlight reel. And that illusion steals your peace. Instead of focusing on your journey, you start chasing shadows. Insecurity thrives in silence. It grows when you hide your true self, when you pretend to be okay while quietly falling apart inside. It feeds on your mistakes, magnifies your flaws, and blinds you to your strengths. It makes you believe you are the only one struggling, when in truth, everyone fights their own invisible war. The heart wants to grow, but the mind wants to stay safe. That's the conflict, the war between desire and doubt, between potential and protection. The heart says, go for it. The mind says, wait. The heart dreams of freedom. The mind fears what freedom might cost. There was once a man who wanted to climb a mountain. Every time he looked up, he felt inspired. But when he started climbing, fear whispered, what if you fall? He stopped halfway, unable to move forward or go back. Years passed, and he still stood in the same place, watching others reach the top. One day, he realized something. The mountain had never stopped him. It was his fear that built the wall around him. When he faced that fear, he took his first real step upward, not on the mountain, but within himself. The truth is, your emotions can be your greatest enemy or your strongest ally. The same energy that creates fear can create focus. The same emotion that causes doubt can drive determination. But it begins with awareness, with seeing the enemy for what it really is, not something outside of you, but something within. Psychologists often say that the human brain is wired for survival, not success. It avoids pain, seeks comfort, and prefers the familiar. That's why growth feels uncomfortable. It goes against your programming. Every time you push yourself to change, your mind resists. It tells you to stop, to stay where it's safe. But safety is not the same as peace. You can be safe and still feel empty. You can be comfortable and still feel lost. So how do you fight the enemy within? You don't fight it with anger. You face it with understanding. You observe your thoughts without judging them. When fear speaks, you listen, not to obey, but to understand. You ask, what are you protecting me from? You learn to talk to yourself with compassion instead of criticism. Because healing doesn't happen through war, it happens through awareness. When you see your patterns clearly, you gain power. You begin to notice when your emotions are trying to take control. You start catching yourself before the spiral begins. You remind yourself that emotions are not commands. They are signals. Fear says, be careful. Doubt says, check your path. But they don't have to define your destiny. The battle inside you is not meant to break you. It's meant to awaken you. Every time you overcome fear, you grow stronger. Every time you face insecurity, you gain confidence. Every time you stop comparing, you find peace. You cannot silence the enemy within forever, but you can transform it. You can turn fear into fuel, pain into purpose, and chaos into clarity. That's the real victory. Not controlling your emotions, but understanding them. Not fighting your mind, but mastering it. Because once you understand your inner enemy, you can start mastering it. The turning point. There comes a moment in every journey when exhaustion meets clarity, when you've tried everything and nothing seems to work. You've pushed, struggled, forced, and fought, only to find yourself standing in the same place, staring at the same wall. That moment feels heavy, almost hopeless. But what if that feeling of defeat isn't the end? What if it's the beginning? The beginning of a new way of seeing success itself. He felt that moment one quiet evening. After months of effort, sleepless nights, and endless plans that led nowhere, he sat down and whispered to himself, "I can't keep living like this." The room was silent, except for his breathing. He realized something powerful. He wasn't tired of working hard. He was tired of working wrong. All his life, he believed that success was a race, that if he ran faster, pushed harder, and never stopped, he would win. But now, he saw the truth. It wasn't a race. It was a direction. And he had been running fast, but in circles. That realization was his turning point. So many of us live this way, mistaking speed for progress, force for power, effort for effectiveness. We push against everything, trying to control, to prove, to survive. But life isn't conquered through force. It's navigated through understanding. You don't win by fighting the current. You win by learning how to flow with it. Imagine a river. When you swim against it, you use all your strength but move nowhere. But when you understand its rhythm, when you align your body with its flow, the same river that once resisted you begins to carry you forward. Success works the same way. It's not about overpowering life. It's about aligning with it. The greatest change happens not when you do more, but when you see differently. That's the awakening. When you stop asking, "How can I make things happen?" and start asking, "How can I become the kind of person to whom things happen naturally?" He started noticing small things. His frustration came not from lack of progress, but from his need to control everything: outcomes, timing, people, even emotions. When he let go of that control, something magical happened. Peace returned, and from that peace came clarity. He began to understand that growth doesn't come from force, it comes from focus. He stopped trying to do everything and started doing the right things. He stopped comparing his path to others and began walking his own. Slowly, the noise inside his mind began to fade. The work didn't get easier, but it started to feel lighter, because now his effort had direction. His energy had purpose. This is the shift that separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's alignment, the ability to match your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your true purpose. Alignment turns chaos into clarity, confusion into calm, and resistance into rhythm. Think of a tree. It doesn't fight to grow. It simply grows in harmony with nature. It bends when the wind blows, but it never breaks. It doesn't rush the process or compare itself to the tree beside it. It just stays rooted, patient, and consistent, and in time, it becomes strong. That's what it means to align, to grow with life, not against it. For so long he had been chasing success like a distant star, always running toward it but never reaching it. But now, he understood something life-changing. Success isn't something you chase, it's something you attract by becoming aligned with who you're meant to be. When your values, habits, and vision move in the same direction, success becomes a natural result, not a constant struggle. He stopped focusing on outcomes and began focusing on identity. Instead of asking, "What do I want?" he asked, "Who must I become to deserve it?" That single question changed everything. Because when you shift from chasing to becoming, your energy transforms. You stop trying to force doors open. You start building the keys that open them. The truth is, alignment feels gentle, but it's powerful. It doesn't shout. It guides. It doesn't rush. It moves with certainty. You begin to notice opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You find solutions where you once saw problems. And slowly, life stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like a conversation between you and your purpose. This transformation isn't about giving up on effort. It's about changing its direction. Instead of pouring energy into resistance, you pour it into awareness. You realize that every moment you spend trying to control what's beyond your reach steals energy from what you can actually change: yourself. He learned that the most powerful people are not the ones who fight life, but the ones who cooperate with it. They don't chase success, they attract it through alignment. They don't waste energy on what's gone wrong, they channel it toward what can be made right. This realization didn't make his problems disappear overnight, but it changed how he faced them. Instead of panic, there was patience. Instead of frustration, there was focus. Instead of self-doubt, there was self-trust. And that inner shift changed everything around him. You can see this in your own life too. When you act from fear, everything feels heavy. When you act from alignment, things begin to flow. You start attracting the right people, the right chances, the right timing, not because life suddenly favors you, but because you've stopped standing in your own way. That is the power of alignment. When your effort, emotions, and energy move as one, the path becomes clear. The struggles don't vanish, but they stop defining you. You move from resistance to rhythm, from chaos to calm, from control to confidence. He realized that success was never about how hard he fought. It was about how clearly he saw. The moment he stopped pushing against life and started working with it, he stepped into flow, and everything began to change. This is the true turning point, when you stop asking, "Why isn't it working?" and start asking, "How can I align myself with what I want to become?" That's when the real journey begins, not one of exhaustion, but of evolution. Because success doesn't come from fighting harder, it comes from aligning smarter. Transition. Now, let's explore how to build the mindset that never gives up, but never burns out. The mindset of winners. He had reached a crossroads in his life. Years of effort, struggle, and uncertainty had led him here, and the road ahead seemed both promising and daunting. He had learned the importance of direction and consistency, and he had begun aligning his actions with his purpose. Yet he still faced setbacks, doubts, and fears. The difference now was not in his circumstances, but in his mind. He had discovered the hidden key to lasting success, the mindset of winners. Most people think success is about talent, luck, or opportunity. They believe that the fortunate few are born with an advantage and the rest are destined to struggle. But winners see life differently. They understand that success is not a fixed state. It is a pattern of thinking, choosing, and acting. It begins in the mind long before it manifests in results. The first principle of this mindset is patience. Winners know that meaningful progress cannot be rushed. They see life as a long-term game, where small, deliberate actions compound into extraordinary outcomes. Just like planting a tree, they nurture their skills, relationships, and vision consistently, knowing that the most valuable rewards take time to grow. Impatience leads to shortcuts, mistakes, and disappointment, but patience transforms obstacles into stepping stones. Consider a young writer, filled with passion and ambition. She dreams of publishing a novel, but each attempt is met with rejection. A fixed mindset would tell her, "I'm not good enough. I should quit." A growth mindset tells a different story. Every rejection teaches me how to improve. Every failure brings me closer to my goal. She studies, writes daily, seeks feedback, and gradually refines her craft. Years later, her persistence pays off. A novel is published not because of luck, but because she adopted the mindset that growth requires patience and resilience. Adaptability is the second trait of winners. Life is unpredictable, and those who cling rigidly to plans are easily broken. Winners accept change as part of the journey. They pivot when necessary, adjust their strategies, and embrace new opportunities that align with their vision. Adaptability doesn't mean giving up. It means responding intelligently to circumstances instead of reacting impulsively. Imagine a sailor at sea. The storm arrives suddenly, overturning expectations. A fixed mindset panics, struggling against the waves, trying to impose control. A growth mindset observes, assesses, and adjusts the sails. The wind still blows, but instead of fighting it, the sailor navigates with skill. This is how winners treat life. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They learn to work with reality. Learning from failure is another essential component. Every mistake, setback, or disappointment carries a hidden lesson. Yet most people avoid failure at all costs, believing it defines their worth. Winners view failure as feedback, not a verdict. They dissect what went wrong, extract the lesson, and move forward stronger. The more they fail intelligently, the faster they grow. A famous example is Thomas Edison, whose experiments with the light bulb failed thousands of times. A fixed mindset would have labeled those failures as proof of inadequacy. But Edison saw them as essential steps toward mastery. "I have not failed," he said. "I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That perspective, the mindset that embraces learning from failure, is what separates the exceptional from the ordinary. Focus on long-term vision is also critical. Winners don't chase immediate rewards or temporary validation. They plan years ahead, making choices today that align with their ultimate goals. Short-term excitement can feel satisfying, but without long-term vision, it is meaningless. Winners weigh decisions not by how they feel now, but by how they serve their future self. They sacrifice instant gratification for enduring growth, understanding that every small choice compounds into a larger outcome. The contrast between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset is clear. A fixed mindset fears failure, resists learning, and seeks immediate results. It is easily discouraged, swayed by others' opinions, and trapped by its own limitations. A growth mindset embraces challenges, learns continuously, and values progress over perfection. It sees potential everywhere, in experiences, mistakes, and even struggles. He remembered his early days of frustration, trying hard but achieving little. At that time, he measured his self-worth by results. When results didn't come, he felt defeated. Today, with a winner's mindset, he measures himself by effort, learning, and improvement. He sees life as a series of experiments, each one valuable, each one contributing to his growth. Success is no longer a distant, unpredictable prize. It is the natural outcome of consistent, intelligent action guided by a resilient mind. Empowerment grows from this perspective. When you adopt the mindset of winners, obstacles stop feeling like threats and start feeling like opportunities. Challenges are no longer reasons to give up. They are invitations to learn, adapt, and grow. Fear of failure diminishes because failure is no longer personal. It is practical. Every mistake becomes data, every setback a lesson, every struggle a teacher. Self-awareness is also central to this mindset. Winners understand their strengths, weaknesses, and triggers. They recognize when emotions like fear, doubt, or impatience are influencing decisions. This awareness allows them to pause, reflect, and respond strategically rather than reactively. The inner war between desire and doubt is still present, but it is no longer a battle that defines them. It is a tool they can master. Another key principle is gratitude. Winners appreciate progress, no matter how small. They celebrate effort, perseverance, and learning. Gratitude shifts focus from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility. It fuels optimism and resilience, reminding them that even setbacks contribute to the journey. Winners also cultivate discipline. Discipline is the bridge between intention and action. It ensures that vision and purpose translate into daily habits. A winner doesn't rely solely on motivation. Motivation fluctuates, but discipline sustains growth. They show up even when they don't feel like it, knowing that consistency and effort compound over time. Consider a professional athlete. Talent is important, but talent alone cannot produce champions. What separates a great athlete from an average one is the mindset, the discipline to train when tired, the patience to recover from injury, the adaptability to improve weaknesses, the focus on long-term goals over short-term victories. The same principle applies to life. By integrating patience, adaptability, learning from failure, focus on long-term vision, self-awareness, gratitude, and discipline, winners build mental patterns that naturally attract success. They create environments, habits, and choices that reinforce growth. Their mindset becomes a compass, guiding them through uncertainty, setbacks, and opportunity alike. This mindset transforms challenges into stepping stones. It turns fear into fuel, setbacks into lessons, and effort into lasting achievement. It empowers you to rebuild your life on principles that work, not luck, not external validation, but intelligent, deliberate action guided by a resilient mind. When you live with this mindset, you stop fearing failure. You stop waiting for permission or external validation. You stop chasing shortcuts. Instead, you focus on becoming the kind of person capable of creating lasting impact, capable of weathering storms, capable of growth that outlasts circumstances. And in this state, even mistakes become allies. Even obstacles become teachers. Even moments of doubt become opportunities to strengthen character. The mindset of winners is not about avoiding pain. It is about transforming it into power. The world outside may be chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes unfair. But the mind of a winner remains centered, clear, and resilient. Challenges no longer feel like threats, but like invitations to practice mastery. Progress becomes inevitable because it is no longer dependent on external conditions. It flows naturally from the internal patterns of thought, choice, and action. This is the mindset you can cultivate. It begins with awareness, strengthens through practice, and deepens with reflection. It shapes how you respond to life, how you measure success, and how you define yourself. It is the invisible force that turns effort into achievement, struggle into learning, and dreams into reality. When you embrace this mindset, you become unstoppable. Not because life has changed, but because you have changed. Not because obstacles vanish, but because your response transforms them into growth. Not because success is guaranteed, but because you are prepared for it. When you live with this mindset, even failure becomes part of your progress. The path forward. You have come far. You've walked through struggle, self-doubt, and frustration. You've faced the truth about effort, control, and fear. You've learned that hard work alone cannot create lasting success, that the enemy often lives within, and that alignment, clarity, and consistency are the real forces behind achievement. Now, it's time to see the bigger picture, to understand how all the lessons connect and how you can carry them forward in life. Success is not about working harder. It is about working wiser. It is about knowing where you are going, being consistent in your actions, mastering your emotions, and cultivating the mindset that turns obstacles into opportunities. Each step you take, no matter how small, becomes meaningful when it aligns with purpose and understanding. Effort without wisdom is like rowing in circles. Effort guided by awareness carries you forward. Think about your life as a journey along a path. At times, the road will be smooth and progress will feel easy. At other times, it will be rocky and steep, and doubt will whisper in your ear. That is natural. The key is not to avoid difficulty, but to walk through it with awareness, using every experience to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Each challenge, each setback, each failure is a teacher in disguise. Remember clarity. When you know your direction, every action has purpose. You no longer expend energy on meaningless tasks or distractions. You focus on what matters, and you let go of what doesn't. This focus is your compass, guiding you through uncertainty and helping you navigate life with confidence and peace. Consistency is your engine. It is the force that transforms small, repeated actions into extraordinary results. Every day you show up, even when it feels hard, you build momentum. You create habits that carry you forward, even in moments of doubt. Success is not the result of rare bursts of effort, but the accumulation of steady, intentional steps taken over time. Your mindset shapes your experience. By adopting the perspective of a winner, you see challenges as opportunities, failure as feedback, and growth as inevitable. You replace fear with focus, doubt with curiosity, and resistance with resilience. This mindset allows you to stay steady in the face of adversity, to learn from every experience, and to keep moving toward your vision with confidence. Emotional balance is the secret that ties everything together. Life will always have uncertainty, stress, and setbacks. But when you understand your inner world, you no longer let emotions dictate your choices. Fear, insecurity, and comparison no longer control you. You observe them, learn from them, and act anyway. Emotional mastery does not mean you feel nothing. It means you respond rather than react, and you maintain your direction regardless of circumstances. The path forward is not a straight line. It is filled with lessons, detours, and surprises. But each lesson strengthens you, each detour teaches patience, and each challenge builds resilience. You are not failing when progress feels slow. You are learning. You are building the foundation for success that will last, not just temporarily, but permanently. Look at where you are now. Think of how far you've come, even if it doesn't always feel like progress. Every insight you gain, every habit you form, every step of self-awareness you practice adds to the momentum that will carry you forward. You are closer than you think. The small choices you make today shape the life you will live tomorrow. This journey applies not only to success in work, goals, or skills, but to mastering life itself. It applies to learning English, your career, relationships, or personal growth. Language, like life, is not mastered in a day. It is the product of consistent effort, clarity of purpose, a resilient mindset, and reflection on mistakes. Each word learned, each sentence practiced, is a step on the path, not just to fluency, but to confidence and self-expression. So, move forward with awareness. Let clarity guide your choices. Let consistency power your actions. Let your mindset shape your responses. Let emotional balance protect your energy. Keep walking, even when the road feels uncertain, because each step matters. Each step is building something greater than you see today. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are learning. Every mistake, every moment of doubt, every challenge is part of the process that will shape your success. The world outside may feel chaotic, but the world inside can be steady, clear, and strong. This inner mastery is the real power that allows you to achieve anything worth having. Imagine looking back 1 year from now. You will see the distance you've traveled, the growth you've achieved, and the wisdom you've gained. And you will realize that every step, no matter how small, was worth it. Every struggle, every lesson, every choice mattered. Because you were not just moving, you were evolving. The path forward is simple, but not easy. It requires awareness, intention, and patience. It requires that you commit to yourself, your growth, and your vision. But if you embrace it, every action you take will carry meaning. Every day will bring progress, and every challenge will teach you something valuable. Walk this path with courage and reflection. Treat each setback as a lesson, each success as a milestone, and each day as an opportunity to improve. The journey is yours, and you have the tools to navigate it wisely. Remember, mastery of life and mastery of English are not destinations. They are journeys. Journeys that reward the patient, the consistent, and the mindful. Journeys that transform ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes. Keep moving. Keep learning. Keep growing. And most importantly, walk with awareness. Because this time, every step